How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Speakhive podcast. If you're new here, my name is Jared Scott. I'm a professional speaker. I've booked over 1,000 paid engagements in my career. And today I have Mackenzie Salas, which is my wife and my booking agent. Mackenzie, can you just tell them a little bit about yourself, real quick?
So I kind of got thrown into this. This is not what I thought I was going to do. And now it's something that I love to do. I started about 10 years ago for another agency. And over the years, we've just perfected and learned everything we possibly can to make this the best experience. And I've learned that it's actually deeply personal for me. So I've loved it. I've loved learning how to strategize, how to integrate systems. But I think as a person, it's not far off for me to be a booking agent for a speaker.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll do multiple podcasts, me and you, but today we're going to focus more on the strategy of being a booking agent or how a speaker could be their own booking agent in the beginning, at least, and how they can overcome rejection, some of the things that they could say on strategy calls or discovery calls that can help move the needle forward, how to deal with certain rejections, and how to get into organizations, into schools. So, mainly, I'm in education. I speak in the education space. So, you're talking to a lot of principals, counselors, PTA members, so on and so forth.
Mhm.
So, what's your strategy when a school says that they're interested, but the communication starts to slow down? How do you revive these cold leads? Can you expand on that?
Oh, yeah. So for me personally, this was one of the hardest it was really a mindset that you have to overcome. I didn't want to be the person that was bugging people, but as time has gone on and over the years, I'd say especially in the last 5 years, I've really realized the power in the follow-up and just continuing to build a relationship regardless of where you think it may or may not go. This works for me personally. I've had people that were interested at first, and then you don't hear from them, so I'll just check in with them periodically every 3 to 5 days for, 5, 7 follow-ups, and then if I don't hear from them at all, then I just lengthen that time between depending on where our relationship was really at. Most of these people that I get on a call with or even email, I start to know about their personal lives and I'm like invested in them as a person. So that kind of gives me more to reach out about also. And I've seen a lot of success in this because when you follow up with people and you just check in to say like, "Hey, how's it going?" or you remember a milestone in their life and you email them around that time or call them around that time, then it restarts that conversation and there's really no other motive other than like, "Hey, I'm reminding you that I exist." And that's something that's really important. I'm not bugging them, but they have a million things going on just like we do. And it's something important to remember like, "Hey, I'm not pestering somebody if we've built a relationship. I'm just reminding them that I exist." And I've had people book 1, 2, 3 years out after that initial conversation just because 'cause we've built relationships.
Yeah, that's a big part of why you're so successful. Just to give everybody context, we've tried to replace Mackenzie in our business many times simply because, we have multiple kids. She's pregnant right now. Things get tough and we're busy and I'm traveling a lot. And so we've tried to replace her numerous times and it hasn't worked yet because you're so good at what you do and nobody can do it like you do it. And I think it's because you have no sales background at all. You're not salesy on these calls, your relationship first, and you
Mhm.
actually care about people and you really just become their friend, whether they're going to book you or not. There's people that you met on discovery calls that were interested in booking me, never booked me, but you became friends with them and you still text them, you still message them, and they still haven't booked me. And we don't care about that. They're our friends now. And most of the time, it's usually just because they don't have the funds. And so that's fine. We just continue to be their friend, human to human.
Mhm.
And so, what are some of the rejections that you hear a lot? And how do you handle them without sounding pushy?
Oh, well, of course, the first one is usually like we don't have the funds because even if they do have the funds, that's an easy pass off, right? Like we just don't have the money. And my response to that is always like I am expert problem solver. So if you really like the program, if you look into the program and you think it's valuable for your organization, I will help you find the funds. I will send over lists of grants in your area, grants that we have worked with in the past. Let's explore your community partnerships that have existing relationships with you. I will reach out to them. Like, what can I do to take this off of your plate? I think that's often why people are quick to rejection, especially in the education industry, because they're so busy and they see bringing on a speaker and putting on a keynote and a breakout session and a staff leadership or staff development or community night, and they're like, "I don't have time to plan this." So I just remind them like, "Hey, I will do this. This is my job. Let me help you if you really like it." So that's usually how I handle that.
Yeah. So people buy with emotion and then they justify later with logic. So that
Mhm,
means they have to be emotionally invested in what you're selling. That's why relationship first selling seems to work in this industry.
mhm.
So there's this thing called belief transfer. What does that mean to you? And how do you make sure people feel seen and heard and emotionally bought in before they buy?
Well, and this is something that I tell a lot of people when they're like, "How do I find a booking agent?" or "How did you and Jared do this?" I've seen the results. I've gone to Jared's keynotes, I've gone to the breakout sessions, I've built relationships with the students and the parents and the teachers and seen how it can really change lives and make a big difference for a long time. So, believing in what you're doing is very important and believing that it is valuable and that it is worth what people are exchanging you to come. Because people, there's a sacrifice on both ends. They're sacrificing funds and time and a lot of times trust that you're going to perform. And as a business, it's really important that you deliver. So I have full confidence that Jared's going to deliver because I've been there. So it is authentic and 100% genuine when I speak to people about what we can do and what results are going to come from it. There's no sauce, there's no extra sauce, it's like, "I know this works." So that's important. You need to build a program that works, that you have full faith in, that you have evidence that it works, you have the data, you have the testimonials. Like, every time you're building on an extra piece to your entire brand that supports evidence that you can do this, I think it helps you to be able to sell yourself, but it also is going to transfer to whomever you have on your team that they can sell you. And I highly recommend when people are trying to bring somebody else on, like, you need someone who cares about what you're doing. Like, I personally care about the Culture Shift Tour because I needed it when I was that age. I Part of what we've done with my life and overcoming my traumatic experiences has been built into the breakout sessions and the identity shift. So, like, it's deeply personal to me and I can connect with it. Therefore, I can have that belief transfer on a call. I don't have to strategize it, I don't have to rehearse it. It's just natural.
People aren't really buying your speech, they're buying the confidence that you have in your speech. Okay, so you've coached a lot of speakers now, working with Speakhive every single week, running one of our coaching calls. So, what's the difference between speakers that stay consistently booked, meaning they are getting paid and they're traveling to speak, and then speakers who just stay busy? Like they're doing a lot. It seems like they're always doing something, but they're not getting booked and they're not getting paid.
That really comes down to something that I honestly would say that you have taught me in many ways. Be relentless in reinventing and innovating your program. Like, never stop growing it and making it better. Like, Jared acts as if every year is the first year he's been speaking, and it blows my mind. Like, even still, to this day, before a gig, Jared carves out time, like from our family time, from work time to practice and to rehearse, whether that's in the office or the garage. He has the sound system, he has the microphone, like, he runs the keynote as if it's really happening. So I think a lot of that hard work that goes unseen is really important because it speaks volumes. And it also helps you to innovate your program because you're so deeply involved in it instead of just rehearsing the same thing over and over again.
Mhm.
Also, I think the fact that you have continued to seek out education and higher education has helped the program to grow. So, not only does Jared speak in this lane in education, but he has gone back to school and continued his education and is going for his master's so that it can be the best that it can possibly be. And it can have the most up to date clinical backed evidence to put into the program to make sure that it works. Like, he's not just coming up with whatever he can find on the internet. He's like really learning it and doing it. I think another thing is consistent outreach. That is something that took me a little while to really grasp. Like, this never stops moving.
Yeah.
We have to continuously, like, no matter how good the board can look, like, we have this whiteboard and it has all of the engagement, so you can look at that and be like, "Oh, yeah, like, we did it. We're done," but no. Because when you're a speaker, your engagements are, like, sometimes 3 months, sometimes 6 months, 9 months, a year and a half, 2 years out.
Yeah.
So, if I stop outreach and keeping up with cold email and just, like, reinvesting in relationships, if I stop that process, I might not see it now, but I'll see it in 6 months, and then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what are we gonna do in a year?" Like, that's happened a lot, I'll be honest with you guys.
It takes way more outreach than you think. And you know my saying, harass them softly. I mean,
Wow.
because in the beginning, you'd be like, "Do I follow up again?" "Yes."
Yeah.
"Again? Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Uh-huh.
Like, you need to call them until you get them on the phone. They're not saying no to you, they're just saying no because they're uninformed,
Oh,
really.
for sure.
And then we've had principals and superintendents tell us, like, "Hey, just call me until you get me." Like, they're so busy that they're like, "You have to call me relentlessly in order to get me on the phone." And so it's pretty much whoever outreaches and makes the most touches is who's on their mind when they finally do have the budget. That's really what it comes down to.
Oh, for sure, and I've, like, tried to really help people grasp this by, like, think about how many different email campaigns you once upon a time signed up for because you were interested in a product, right? And then for, like, a year or 2, you just overlook their offers, don't buy it, don't buy it, don't buy it because it's just not the right time or something happens, and then one day they send you something, you're like, "Oh, yeah, I need to buy that." That might be 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years later, but if we do that, then why wouldn't somebody else? Like, that's how we
Yeah.
all work, you
It's
know?
kinda like the friend zone,
Yeah,
like back in high
yeah,
school, you know? You just wanna be the friend. You're there, you're there, you're there. She might be taken at the time, but you're just there.
yeah,
Emotional support. "Hey,
yeah,
you good? You good?" And then one day, if it don't work out, the guy that was always there,
yep,
that's who she's gonna call.
yep, yep.
All right. So, how do you personalize a pitch for different decision makers? Principals, superintendents, event planners, stuff like that. They have their own languages and the way that they talk. They also have their own pain points. They care about different things. Principals are really top down, big picture. Counselors, for an example, one on one in the trenches. They care about student wellness and the individual student. So, how do you personalize all of this?
So, I definitely always take into account who I'm gonna hop on a call with. And it can also be relayed through email and through text, like, you need to think about that language, but whomever your client is that you're speaking with, you need to be aware of their position on campus or in the organization, and you need to, like, really put yourself in their shoes, like, what would they care about? Read books, watch podcasts, like, learn about these people and what they care about. That's what is going to separate you from other people, and another piece of this, like, as a segue, this is why it's really important to just continuously do outreach and continuously book calls with people because as you book more calls and have more conversations with different types of decision makers, teachers, counselors, superintendents, principals, event planners, CEOs, HR, like whoever that may be, the more conversations you have with these people, the more data you can collect on them and find out what matters to them.
Yep.
So that's why it's also important, like we said earlier, to just continuously outreach. But the biggest difference, I think, is When you have money conversations, that's really one of the biggest pieces when it comes to knowing who you're speaking to.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to go really deep into a money conversation with someone who isn't gonna sign the contract and doesn't have the ability to sign the contract,
That's good.
because they might not understand that the number I give them is a possibility. So
Mhm.
they might be scared to ask. So I have learned this over the years. Like if I'm talking to a counselor and they deeply care about their kids, we're talking about how our program is going to help their kids that they deeply care about. And then I'm like, hey, let me send over this proposal of services to whomever it is, or let me talk to them, because they will understand when I give them the quote that that's a doable and normal number, whereas a counselor might see that number and say, "I can't ask my principal for that." I've learned that the hard way. And you also kind of have to put in perspective, like the educational system is at this very moment going through a lot of adjustments, and all educators, especially teachers and counselors and things, they're hearing budget cut, budget cut, budget cut. So I'm keeping that in mind as well. I need to talk to the decision maker, or if that's a counselor or a principal that is aware of grants, then they do understand, hey, like this is doable and this is how much we have.
Yeah.
So I really just read those conversations, and then also just what are the results and how much data points I give them also depends on whom I'm speaking to. So superintendents are very data driven. I'm going to give a macro picture for them versus the people that are like in the trenches, like you said, I'm going to give them the micro version of what's going on.
Absolutely. So how do you decide pricing when you're talking to schools that have different budgets, but you know your work is worth way more?
This is one of the questions I probably get asked the most. And I don't think there's a one size fits all answer for this, but the way that I handle and approach it is I've just learned to be honest. And I was talking to one of the speakers that we had with us while we were coaching and going through all of her information branding and marketing. And I was just like, it's important to let people know where you stand. So I've learned if I say, hey, here's our standard pricing, this is what I quote everybody. But the reason I do this is because there's going to be some schools that can't afford this. And because someone who can afford the standard rate pays the standard rate, it makes it possible for us to go to these schools that have no funds, minimal funds, who never get speakers because somebody else paid the standard rate.
Yeah.
So it's really not even like I'm trying to get the most out of somebody. It's if you're telling me that you don't have the money, you're not taking from our business, you're taking from another school.
Yeah.
And that's really how like being impact driven for the culture shift. I think that's how we operate. And when I started to be vulnerable about that, which just happened authentically on a call one day, and I saw the reaction, I was like, oh, being honest, this honest
Yeah.
works.
And that's the importance of having that many sales calls. There's a lot of people that say they can't afford it in the email, right? And I told you in the beginning, get on the call anyways. And the reason why is just to gather that data. You need to understand how they talk. You need to understand why they don't have the budget or why they think they don't have the budget.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do, and they had no clue that we could work with certain other budgets or that they could work and partner up with nonprofits. So you really help a school have more funds than they thought they even had if you just take the call, take the chance on people, and just work with them.
People just come to their own assumptions based on their own mindset and even based on their emotions in the very moment that they open your email.
Yeah,
So they look at your website, like, did they really look into your website? What kind of mood were they in when they read about you?
yeah.
You know? So that's why the call makes it more personable, and then I can really, like, relay and express the value and how many different topics we touch on that feed into so many different budgets and grants.
I remember one time there was this guy that told us no because our message wasn't clear. Remember, he had no clue what we talk about.
Yeah.
And if you go play our speaker reel like 15 seconds in, I literally say, and my message is clear. I literally say those words. It's like we're here to give students a voice so that way they can turn their solutions into movements, things that they can actually do to shift the culture in their campus over time. Like I literally said, my message is clear, but it just showed me like he didn't watch the video. He probably didn't actually go through my website. He said in the email, that we book speakers all the time and people come in and they do this and they say this and they do that. So he had these underlying beliefs about speakers and he
Mhm.
wasn't going to book a speaker anyways. But if you took that person, be like, what am I doing wrong? Oh my gosh, my message isn't clear. It's like, no, 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 you're good. Sometimes you need to reflect and maybe clear up your message. I was like, what are you talking about? I literally said
Yeah, yeah.
my message is clear in the speaker reel. It's so funny. So, in order to have a successful, cold email or outreach system, in that messaging, what are two or three of the things that have to be there that you would say that these things are necessities?
Clarity is one of them, because if you are confused, they're going to be confused. So, we have to have clarity when we're doing any sort of cold email, like, be direct. And I've learned this myself because I was very wordy. If you give somebody too many details at the beginning, you're gonna overwhelm them and they just see like decision fatigue next.
Yeah.
So, clarity and then just being concise is also very important in the beginning. And as the cold email grows and the back and forths grow, then you add more details because they're actually interested. So don't overwhelm them at first. Another thing being like you need to have your mission statements, your branding, and what you do and why you do it very clear to you so that you can express it in many different ways in one sentence and see what works for you in an email campaign.
Let's talk conversions now. So, once somebody's on that Zoom call with you, what are some of the keys to getting them to say yes without feeling salesy?
Like we talked about earlier, it's really important to have that belief transfer because that is going to make it more authentic and it's going to make it less pushy just in and of itself because you have expressed to them and transferred to them like the value of whatever it is that your program does. So that is going to help. Another thing is just letting them know that you're going to work with them. Like, I'm here to help you. So if you face any objections along this process, like, let me know. Ask for people's feedback when I send over a quote, a proposal of services, or whatever it may be. I'm trying to give them as many tools as possible so that like they realize I'm on their side. I'm not just like trying to get them to say yes to me. I'm trying to help them make this dream for their campus come true.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time and you can feel the tables turn in the middle of the conversation. And I think one thing that's important is that you show up to the calls trying to qualify them, not them qualifying you. Right, you show up as if you're there to see if their school or organization is a good fit for your program,
Mhm.
not the other way around, and you just drive forward that narrative until they accept it, because whoever's the most confident will win. So
Mhm.
you act as if, "This doesn't matter if you book me or not. I wanna work with schools that actually wanna shift the culture. I wanna work with, educators that really care about their kids. So I just want to see if that's you." And so then the whole time they're trying to get you to like them. Like, I'm an educator that cares about the kid, I
Oh,
promise.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then once they hear your heart and everything that you have to offer, you feel the table turn where it's not like, okay, well, let's see if we can afford you to how can we afford you?
Mhm.
Can you help me afford you?
For sure.
Like, what else can we do to make this worthwhile? How can we tell other people about you so that way we can get it down to our budget? Like, we really want this to happen. And so that's when the tables turn and you're on the relationship side and it's a team building thing now. We're doing this together. And then you'll see people go out and find other people for you, send
Okay.
emails for you, make calls for you. They're coming back actually in a sense trying to make you proud
Yeah,
in a way because we're
for
we're
sure.
doing this together. So, last thing, what's your advice to speakers who feel awkward or afraid of the business side of speaking because you weren't always this salesperson. You weren't always this business-minded person. They want to grow into professionals. They want to see this thing as a business. How did you make that shift? And as soon as they're done watching this podcast, what's one thing that they could go start doing today to shift their mindset and become a business owner?
I was actually telling someone the other day what you do for the kids when you go on campus and you teach the kids how to build character and to overcome these challenges. This is what you need to do for yourself for your business. and you know how valuable that is for the kids and how it transforms their lives. So it's like you overcame those things and now you're teaching others. So we're always supposed to be a student, as you say. So if you see that you have some fears, some obstacles that you need to overcome in being a business owner, in overcoming them, you're going to add to your program. You're going to add to your value as a person, and you're going to have more confidence in who you are. And that will change your life in more ways than just building your business. So I really
Absolutely.
think that it grows you as a person.
Every great leader, every great speaker, every great teacher has to remember and remain a student. Absolutely. All right. So let them know where they can find you if they want to follow you. There's a lot of speakers out there that are their own booking agents right now, and they would just like to follow and connect with you
Mhm.
on social media. So where can they find you?
They can find me at Meet Mackenzie Nicole on Instagram. That's probably the most likely place you'll catch me. And every once in a while, I give out my phone number if you're lucky.
Don't be giving out your phone.
I'm not gonna give my
Crazy.
phone number
Oh
out
my
on the
gosh. Well,
podcast.
thank you for being here. Love
Thank you. Love you
you.
too.